Have you all ever wondered why the title Son of Man was given to Jesus? And what was so divine or important about that title? For those interested in learning the reason, you will want to thumbs up this video and pay close attention. The term Son of Man was taken directly from the book of Daniel when Christianity decided to use it in conjunction with the title of Jesus Christ. When the Old Testament texts like Psalms, Ezekiel, or Daniel use this term, it was used in the correct context of a human being, or being Adam. In contrast, Christianity uses it as a divine title for the Messiah, so the actual definition is being misapplied in the New Testament. During Daniel's prophecy in chapter 7, it was written that it was a dream. It clearly states that it was a night vision. And because it was a night vision, the things that Daniel explained in the book were not to be accepted as they were written. What he saw were things that needed interpretation because it was all a symbolic message that had to be deciphered. It's no different than people dreaming of snakes and feel it's a warning of an enemy, or dreaming about a fish implies that someone has conceived a baby. If anyone reads Daniel line for line, they will read where everything that the prophet saw in his dream had to be interpreted by an angel. Daniel 7:3 says, "And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse from one another." If we scroll further down, it says one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came before the Ancient of Days. Verse 14 reads, "He was given power and an everlasting dominion where all languages and nations would serve him." Verse 15, the visions in his head troubled him. 16 reads, "He went over to one of the angels standing in the dream and asked for the interpretation of these things." Like verse 3, verse 23 reiterates that the 4 beasts are 4 kingdoms. Verses 26 and 27 are the most important verses. It reads, "But judgment shall sit and take away the beast's power and consume it to the end. The kingdom and dominion and greatness under the whole heaven will be given to the saints of the Most High. All nations shall serve and obey the Lord." For now, that is the end of the matter. If we go to the book of Revelations, the authors dove right back in the book of Daniel and used the same description of God and applied it to Jesus in Revelations 1:14. The throne of fire, hair of wool, and eyes of flame. Only thing that they added was the brass of the bronze skin. The reason for that insertion is because brass signifies the color of the altar that sacrifices were performed. As the book of Revelation is a Johannine-style writing, most biblical scholars believe that the same person named John wrote the Gospel of John, also wrote Revelation. So in Daniel's vision, the man that looks like a human being that is brought before the Ancient of Days is not Jesus. And although this imagery in the Bible represents the Messianic era, it is not literally about a Messiah. One important thing to observe, it's a conflict of doctrine if Jesus is taught by the Gospel of Matthew and Luke that Jesus was born without a father, yet he's called the Son of Man. It's also intriguing that Matthew 24:30 says that Jesus warned his followers of a sign in heaven. This sign was the sign of the Son of Man. Jesus is the Son of Man. Why is he speaking of this Son of Man in the third person? And how could the disciples actually see a sign that Daniel saw in his own dream? This had to mean that the vision could only be used in an interpretation of Israel's liberation and not a prophecy of this second coming. New Testament completely twisted the meanings and moral points of the Old Testament into Zoroastrian and Greek-style beliefs. For example, there is no devil, heaven, hell, nor can anyone die for the sins of another. It's virtually human sacrifice, something that Judaism is strictly against. So it would be completely preposterous to build a new Jewish religion built on the most abominable thing in the religion besides male homosexuality. This concludes the video, and I hope it helped those in search of biblical facts and truth. Nubian Roots.